All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you first and foremost for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Um, we are about to get set on a kind of a walkthrough on how to get back to business in the club space and where technology really fits in. So to start the presentation today, we'll do a couple of introductions here first. My name is Trevor Kudlin. I'm Vice President of Marketing at Jonas Club Software. I joined the company way back in 2005. And I'm an avid cyclist and runner, which has actually been quite good during this whole lockdown here where we're based just outside of Toronto. I have one very active 2-year-old son who, even though I'm an avid cyclist and runner, he still manages to run circles around me every day. With me on the line today, we have Jeremy Roth, and I'll allow Jeremy to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Great to see so many new and familiar names joining us for today's webinar. Like Trevor mentioned, my name is Jeremy Roth. I'm the Director of Professional Services with Jonas Club Management. I joined Jonas Club in 2013. I can't believe that it's been almost 7 years. Time literally flies. With that being said as well, I can't believe that I'm a father of 2, of an 8-year-old. Time is also another indicator that things are kind of flying by me. And I have a new recent addition to the household as well. I've got a 4-month-old at home as well. I love to garden, and Toronto has finally seen its first summer's day today, which is great news for us. It's sitting in the 70s or in the low 20s. That's me. That's Trevor. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Bathrooms are just down the hallway to the left. I'm just kidding. I'm so used to saying that because a lot of times we do these presentations face to face and in person, and what a telling indicator of the times that we're in right now, that we're kind of doing more and more of these sorts of webinars and presentations digitally, which is going to be a huge topic in what we're sharing with you folks today. Just a couple of other points. So you have the opportunity to ask us any questions. Save those questions until the end. Use the chat box or use the questions box to ask us as we go. If they're fresh in your mind, and we'll get to all those questions at the tail end of today's webinar. Couple of other things. So we have shared a few handouts for you, and we'll go ahead and call out those handouts towards the end of the session as well. But just a couple of things you folks can take back with you and sort of circulate amongst the different members of your team. And we're also going to ask you folks a couple of questions and poll the audience. So we're always interested in seeing how clubs are reacting and kind of surviving through the current challenges and the current climate around the world. So we're going to ask you folks some questions and appreciate your honest feedback and appreciate you just giving us your answers. And I think that will help us navigate through as well. So I'm just going to pass back over to Trevor here.
Thanks, Jeremy. So before we get into the meat of the presentation, just to kind of level set, I wanted to talk just for a minute about Jonas Club Software, what it is that we do, and kind of how we do it. So underneath the Jonas Club Software umbrella, we actually have 13 individual brands that are broken up into back office technologies, websites and mobile solutions, and then value-added benefits. So things like ClubPay, our outsourced payroll processing company. Metrics First, a dashboard technology that allows some really interesting reporting from a cloud perspective with your own club's data. And Member Insight, an automated survey platform that allows you to poll your members without ever having to send a message or hit a trigger, because it actually works off of live in-person engagements and automatically surveys for you. So, you can see we run the gamut here. Over 5,000 total installations and over 250 employees, and our headquarters is based in Toronto. We've got offices all over the world. one of our primary focuses here at Jonas is really being the one-stop technology solution for private clubs. And that's really what this graphic kind of represents to us, is that we want to be the one-stop shop for every department within your club. And that's why we have such a breadth of offerings. So everything from your food and beverage to your outdoor sporting facilities, your fitness facilities, your back office, your accounting products, basically everything under one roof built to work together. So that's really our fundamental philosophy is, we want to help clubs thrive by offering them truly integrated and sophisticated technology to help with modern business needs. So with that said, let's really introduce the concept of getting back to business and how club technology can help. I think it's quite obvious that we've been in an unprecedented time for the past couple of months. At Jonas, our headquarters in Markham, which is just outside of Toronto, we closed the office up in March 13th, I believe it was. And, it's the first time that we've ever done so. We took a primarily office-centric workforce and mobilized the entire company in a matter of a day. And it was quite an undertaking, and I assume that, like us, most of your clubs, most of your businesses have gone through similar changes, and you've had to really adapt to the changing times. Well, not only has technology helped in some ways along the way, with a lot of clubs adding new technologies to be able to service members while having very minimal operations actually happening, technology is poised to really help for the reopening as well. And hopefully for most of you out there now, you're seeing your golf courses being able to be utilized again for the first time. And hopefully the rest of your operations are going to follow pretty quickly behind as well. So we thought that this content was relevant today. And we wanted to get this out and really kind of have a talk to how technology fits to getting back into business. So I'm really focusing this presentation today in two areas. So considerations that we need to make for the new reality, and how technology then fits in. So things like infrastructure considerations, existing technology touch points, and new demand for technology at your clubs. So we've got our first group poll here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to read the question, and then a poll is actually going to pop up on screen that you will be able to answer. It's a multiple choice question. We'll probably give about 10 seconds for everyone to answer, and then we'll be able to jump back in. So if your club is currently open, at what capacity are you serving your members and guests today? So hopefully everyone should see the poll up in front of them now, and we'll give a minute for everyone to be able to vote, and then we will jump back over to the presentation. All right, so very interesting there. So it looks like about 60% of the clubs on the line today, they have their golf operations working. 83% have food and beverage takeout, 30% tennis, 17% fitness, and actually 3% of the clubs represented on the line today are fully open and operational. So that's really interesting. You kind of see the complete spectrum there, with food and beverage and takeout really taking the lead, and fully operational kind of a little bit further down the line. So definitely, an interesting mix there. What that really says to me is that, technology from a food and beverage perspective obviously has been big to us through this whole downturn. And that seems to be one of the primary areas that clubs have really focused on. And obviously we're going to touch on that as we kind of continue through this presentation today. But first and foremost, I want to touch on considerations for the new reality. I think we all know that there are significant changes impacting our businesses. Obviously, only 3% of us today here are really open and operational. So, one of the biggest single changes, though, for getting back to business is this concept of physical distancing. And I don't think that this is something that we're looking at in the short term. I mean, there are some experts that are saying we're looking at 12 to 18 months of real physical distancing. And this represents some very major changes in the ways that golf clubs operate. I got to see the list of regulations earlier today for local golf clubs here in the Toronto area, and then one of the clubs actually released their own operating procedures, and it's about a 10-page document of very, very detailed operating procedures, right down to the fact that clubs are instructing their employees, when you're sanitizing golf carts and surfaces, ensure that you're doing it at the time that you deliver it to the actual member. Make sure that they can see you sanitizing surfaces. So right down to the fine details like that, there's definitely fundamental changes that are happening. New routines are coming into effect. And, some social norms may be a thing of the past. Personal greetings, there's many people speculating that handshakes are now a thing of the past. But food service, right? That's going to be something that fundamentally changes for the time being anyway, and likely will have long-lasting impacts. Cleaning schedules and inclusions at your club as well. So just creating more time in the day for cleaning, for multiple cleanings of surfaces and areas that you normally wouldn't have in the past. How many times does the handrail on the staircase get wiped down on a regular day? It might have been once in the past, maybe now it needs to be, 5 or 10 times. I know the golf club regulations that I was looking at this morning, this particular club was actually enforcing that all staff wash their hands after every interaction with a member, and at minimum every 15 minutes for their entire shift on site. So, just things like that. Clubs and businesses as a whole are going to have to start creating more time in the day for these things. So that definitely means shifting schedules. There's also going to be new perspectives. So people are going to think differently about daily routines when they start to return to normal. So, for instance, the desire to work remotely and on a more flexible schedule. I definitely think that this is going to come up. We've already seen some big businesses make statements about what they intend to do. And new sense of priority, family and community. For as hard as this has been on so many people, one of the silver linings that I think we see are that people are taking a moment to kind of examine, order of importance and things in their lives, and really look at family and spending time together. And I think that private clubs are actually in a really positive place because of this, because most clubs are the family center. It's the activity center for the family to spend time together, and that's where their recreation is focused. So I definitely don't think that this is a bad time for private clubs. I actually think that there's a really big silver lining here, even though we've seen this real slowdown. But I also think that there's a fundamental underlying purpose of private clubs that quite often gets overlooked. And I think that that's going to become much more focused on. I had a conversation with Robert Soretti probably 3 years ago regarding, his philosophy on managing a club and some of the innovative things that he was doing. And one of the things that really stood out to me in that conversation was that he said that, when a member walks through the doors of his club, their health and safety are now his responsibility. And he took, a great level of importance in making that statement. And definitely that was something that he mandated as a kind of a philosophy at his club. I think that more and more clubs are going to be looked at this way, that it's a safe space that members, when they enter, can feel safe, not only from a personal safety, but, security, the fact that they're there and they're taken care of. So, the actual security of the club is one thing, but now the health measures are a part of that as well. So that's going to get a lot more attention in my mind in the coming months and weeks and maybe years. So where do we really get started? All of this means that clubs are going to be faced with new challenges that they've never encountered before. And finding new ways to service members remotely or at a distance is a challenge where technology is ready to make an impact. Most clubs already have technology tools in place that allow members to connect digitally. So today, we want to share some of the ways, not only, we'll touch on what clubs have been doing during the downturn, but we really want to focus on some of the interesting ways that clubs are able to utilize technology to safeguard their staff and members once they reopen. And especially, where physical distancing is a real concern. One of the first areas that clubs definitely need to be paying attention to is technology infrastructure. So this is important because Technology may become more and more relied upon, and the infrastructure you've got at your club is also going to be seeing more demand. So if you're looking at implementing new tech of any kind, ensuring that your servers are up to date, that you've got the latest version of software available, that you're not on unsupported versions of Microsoft Windows or anything like that, that when it comes time to implement new technology, you are readily able to do so. One of the other really important areas you need to take a look at as well is your network bandwidth and your infrastructure and how reliable that is. Because I think as we go forward, one of the big things that we're going to be seeing is more and more demand on Wi-Fi capability at clubs. I think one of the big changes we'll see is, and I've already mentioned this once in this deck, I think we're going to see more interest in people working remotely. And that doesn't just mean people working from their own homes. It also means people potentially wanting to work from your club, especially if that's an activity center for their kids and they can be there getting some work done at the same time. It becomes all that more appealing. So really ensuring that your network speed is up to par and that you're able to cope with any demands that are put on it. Because let's be honest, you're going from a situation where members' kids may be posting videos on TikTok to potentially having a full-fledged workforce operating out of your club. So thinking about your technology infrastructure in these ways is really important. It's foundational. From there, you also need to really consider your own staff and their ability and desire to be able to work remotely. It's obviously not an option for most frontline staff who interact with members on a daily basis, but office staff may want to continue working remote for some time. So you should definitely ensure that if that's a concern of your club, that you reach out to us and you make sure that you've got your technology in place to be able to allow your staff to remotely connect to your systems. And the dreaded physical distancing. This is probably the most challenging aspect of reopening. And it presents so many challenges in terms of how we conduct business from a service perspective that the layers can almost seem too daunting to even consider. Like I've already mentioned with the local golf club whose regulations I read through this morning, it is deep and there's a lot to it. But many areas of your club probably already have member technology touch points in place, which gives you a distinct advantage while getting ready to reopen. In this new age of physical distancing, the need to ensure staff safety and care for your members' own hesitations about public interaction definitely need to be taken into account. And there are a number of ways that technology designed for service areas at your club can definitely help in this process. The way that I've always looked at it is that any club is really like a number of small businesses operating under one roof. So if you kind of look at this graphic and look at each one of these little blocks as its own small business, now more than ever, that business interaction and interactivity is going to be challenged because not only do they have to share basic information, there have to be shared operational standards throughout the entire, club. So, while your food and beverage operation never thought about how the pro shop operation worked in the past, maybe now there's more shared policies and things in place at your club that need to be considered. So, it also goes beyond just your traditional areas where technology would have touched, for example, like making dining reservations. Now reservations and bookings become much more important to ensure physical distance and timing throughout the day. So as we move through the next few slides here in the presentation, this is one of the things that we're really going to focus on is how you can help to kind of create more physical space and create more time within your day with some booking applications and some reservations methodologies. So with this, we're going to jump into amenity specifics. So here we will look at a few different areas, including golf, tennis and courts, dining, and a few other areas to really talk through some of the strategies that you could be putting into place at your club. So with this, I'm going to flip back over to Jeremy, and he's going to start us off. And Jeremy, I believe you're still muted.
unmuted.
There we go. My apologies. I was talking to myself there for just under a minute. So we're going to get started with golf operations. One of the greatest parts of my job is that I get to visit so many of your clubs. And in my 7-year tenure with Jonas, I visited so many of them. And one of the things that I quickly learned is that although clubs all serve the same kind of purpose, which is serving your membership and their guests, the way that's done is quite different from club to club. So I always say similar, but not the same. And one of the ways that's kind of the most poignant is through tee time reservations for golf clubs. So a lot of golf clubs have a digital tee sheet. It's not an uncommon thing anymore, but there still is quite a number of clubs, even to this day, that don't have this concept of a digital tee sheet. They're either paper or pen, or they like to differentiate themselves merely on the fact that I could walk onto the course whenever I so please, and that's considered sort of one of the perks of membership. And what's happened in the course of COVID-19 and everything that we've seen over the past couple of months is that there is now a mandate to service your membership's tee time requirements through a digital tee sheet or through a tee sheet. And a lot of you probably know some of this information already. But the spacing out of tee times has become a really big requirement for a lot of clubs. And what was typical in terms of 7 or 8 minute staggered tee times has now been extended to 10, 15. I've even seen as high as 20 minutes in between players teeing off on the course. And that's all kind of functionality that you have built right into Jonas. And I'm not going to spend too much time in the product today, but I'm a product guy, so I'm going to jump in and just walk you through a couple of things here. So on my tee sheet today, what would typically be a 6-player tee sheet, so a 6-ball tee sheet, I can actually go ahead and block off those, player tee balls, 3 through 6, and in fact make them not available for booking. And one of the handouts that you're provided with today is just a quick step-by-step on how to do this. It's a simple and painless process, but we've also seen some other things like I need to be able to program in some blocks for sanitizing tee boxes, or just some additional measures in to create some more physical distancing. And we've got the ability to schedule those blocks and pre-program them into your system so that every day at the same time when you open up your tee sheet, you can in effect go in and have those pre-populated for you. On the back end as well, we've got the ability here to actually modify your tee times as well. So what you see here is kind of your standard 5-minute spacings or 8-minute spacings that we would have traditionally seen at clubs. And we're seeing lots of requirements now to kind of increase that gap. So if you download that handout that we've provided for you today, it'll give you a nice overview on how to actually go in and make those changes in your own tee time system. With that being said, we've also seen some other interesting applications as well. So golf cart usage. So the ability to not just for maybe rotation purposes or something like that, be able to assign golf carts to individual members, to individual reservations. So within Jonas as well, things like golf carts, things like rental clubs, those are all things that you can actually maintain an inventory of in your Jonas system. So in tee time management under files, whether or not you've noticed it or not, you have the ability here to define cart type. So in my system here, I've got just my standard golf carts, my 2-person golf carts. And then I can, in effect, maintain an inventory of those carts and assign out those carts when I'm making reservations. Quite an important concept today, now more than ever, especially because in a lot of clubs, you're only seeing 1 player per cart. Same thing with rental clubs. So being able to have rental clubs available and sanitized and managing that inventory. So being able to do that right through Jonas is an available option for you as well. We've seen an uptick in demand for programs like running a lottery for tee time. So clubs having far too much demand on the courses and not enough available tee times to meet that demand. So having an arbitrary or a lottery-based system to maintain that. And, Trevor kind of alluded to some of the more unique and interesting ways that our clubs are utilizing their existing technology. And we'll touch on this a little bit more in a little bit as well, but things like creating driving ranges as golf courses in your system. So on my Tee Time system, I actually have a new golf course set up, which is my driving range. And this is something that you folks could easily do as well. And that's just the ability for me to define left side and right side of my driving range potentially, and then the number of players or the number of available positions that we could take reservations for. And in this case, I made them an hour gaps. Transitioning a little bit over to tennis and court facilities. So very similar, I always say, Tee Times is to golf clubs what court bookings is to tennis clubs, and a lot of clubs kind of have an offering of both. So within our court booking system, we have the ability to kind of create some more robust rules around things like the number of players that you can have on the reservation. So maybe restricting singles as opposed to doubles is a very common one that we've received a lot of requests on. So definitely something that you can set up for yourselves. The other one is creating a fixed schedule. So probably a departure for a lot of clubs is I can't book anymore when I want, so I might only be able to book a court for an hour or half an hour, whatever the club's rules are, but being able to force in what those times are so I can only book those on the hour is something that you can do quite easily within your Jonas system as well, specifically within activity management. So you can see here I've got a pre-programmed set of blocks for sanitizing. Again, a very common thread through and through all of our modules, but then also creating a fixed schedule. So I can't book on the half hour. That's not an option. I can only book on the hour, and I can only book for an hour. So some definite locking down or some parameters that can be put into place to kind of guide your members to what you want them to be able to do or not do. On the dining operations side of things, so dining, specifically when it comes to reservations. So we're hearing a lot from clubs that clubs are either ramping up or have plans in their immediate future to start opening up dining rooms again. So this very much so comes into play with having a dining reservation system, having new room layouts that can accommodate both personal distancing or modifying an existing layout as well, and changing some of the rules as well within what number of reservations I can take, or how many I can take. And, a lot of those discussions are happening right now internally because capacity is now going to be very different than it was, a few months ago. So for something like my grill room here, I always use the grill room as a great example. A lot of clubs have a grill room here, and in my grill room, under my meal period settings, I can actually define how many maximum covers and maximum reservations I can take for certain time frames. So a lot of clubs are lowering the maximum number of covers, lowering the maximum number of reservations for any of their given meal periods. And that's something that you can quite easily do and override within your system. And then another really common one on the dining reservation side is blocking off some of the tables. So what I have here is my predefined list of tables. I might want to start making every second table inactive, and that's what we're seeing a lot of clubs doing. So when I come out to my actual floor plan here, and I take a look at my dinner reservations for a night, I can quickly see which tables are blocked off for me and are no longer available because I want to keep that level of distancing between them. A couple more on the dining operations side of things. So changing turn rate. So how often you're turning over your tables and you're able to clean that table and seat another member and their guests. Most systems these days should allow you to go ahead and override those parameters. So if you're using Jonas Dining Reservations or another comparable program, you should be able to come in and temporarily override those settings. So what might be, just a temporary thing for the next few months, and then you might want to come back and reconsider how many tables and how many how many of those parameters you have in place. And then another really big topic of discussion these days is individual devices per server. So individual tablets potentially to take orders off of, individual credit card terminals to take credit cards from members. And we're seeing lots of inquiries and lots of discussions from clubs about whether or not Jonas can meet the need there. And to answer the question on a high level is indeed we can. And I guess what I'd like to do now is pose that question back to you folks. So with all of these discussions going on in regards to, keeping clean workstations and how exactly service staff are going to be able to share, for example, a point of sale machine, do you think your clubs would find it beneficial to offer individual tablets or individual technologies for your staff? And I'm just going to launch that poll here. Just a quick and easy one, a yes or no answer. And we're not even close to cutting that off. I'll cut off that question in just a couple seconds here, but 88% of you are saying yes. So, and that's definitely what we're seeing across the board, is clubs are really looking for ways to still leverage their technology solution, but do it in a way where individual servers can have access to their own individual instance or device. Yeah, so that ended up with 89% of you. On the individual booking side of things, so when we talk about individual bookings, we're talking about things like personal training and fitness classes, golf and tennis lessons, even things like booking meeting rooms. Trevor mentioned, clubs becoming, they've always been what I like to refer to as your third home, but, becoming places where, you can come in and do some work, booking out those meeting rooms, spa appointments, and massage therapy. So we're really seeing clubs now trying to leverage that technology and really start looking for solutions to actually allow their members to book and allow their staff to book out those different areas of the club. On the food ordering side of things, so this was one that we saw very, very early adoption in, and that is just the ability to allow members to take away orders, either call in to go orders, book it through their app or through their website. It was something that we offered very, very early on as a module that any of our clubs could take advantage of for 3 months. And we've seen a fantastic level of adoption of this from both clubs and their members. The feedback's been overwhelmingly positive. And I think members are going to continue to expect that level of service from clubs. Takeaway is not a new concept at clubs, and I think definitely one that's not going to go away anytime soon. And I think what we've seen is interesting things like designating specific pickup locations, so specific parking spaces or locations at the front or at the side of the clubhouse to pick up your orders. Another big one is the delivery component, so being able to deliver those orders directly to members' homes. Mobile first philosophy, so everything comes back to mobile technology. So members want to be able to do more and more with the touch of a finger, right through their phone, right through a mobile app. And food ordering is definitely one of the ways that they can quickly and easily engage with the club. And integration directly to the member's account. So one of the benefits of using our online food ordering platform is that it automatically raises that chit for you on the back office, and automatically you can bill that back to the member's account. I'm going to pass it over now to Trevor, and he's going to speak a bit about staffing here.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. So definitely staffing is a big concern for clubs. There's a number of considerations to make. You obviously have to make sure that your health and safety standards are up to par. But one of the things that can get challenging at a time like this is that regulations are changing so quickly, and you need to be able to communicate out. So staffing becomes more and more of a concern. What I would say is, track everything that you possibly can. And whether you're staffing on a pen and paper solution, or you're staffing on a web-based electronic solution, make sure that you're tracking and you know for sure when and where staff have been. If the unthinkable were to happen and one of your staff members came down with a case of COVID-19, you would want to be able to backtrack that and understand where they were, who they potentially interacted with. And this kind of leads into something we're going to talk about next as well, is in terms of member tracking. But it's really important to be able to understand when and where your staff are working, be able to report on historical records like that, and be able to kind of manage these things on demand. We actually are in the process of rolling out a new staffing solution to a few select beta clients right now. That's a screenshot of it that you can see right there. It's called Shift Manager, and it's going to be available for anyone within the next few weeks. So if an online staffing solution is something that you're interested in, we are going to be bringing something to the table very shortly. The other thing that clubs are really kind of considering right now, and we're seeing a lot of interest in, is the question, do all outlets really need to be staffed? And then comes the question of whether or not your club is interested in self-serve kiosks and self-serve stations. We've seen plenty of interest in this before the whole COVID-19 pandemic, where clubs may want to have a grab-and-go station outside of the fitness facility so that members could easily grab a banana and a shake or something like that, or maybe in their their indoor hitting bays, if they've got those types of facilities where members can go and they can grab a drink out of a fridge and just easily punch in that they're taking that can of Pepsi or something like that, and it automatically goes back to their member account. So we've also seen the request for the halfway house, so that you don't have to have something staffed all the time. These are definitely now more pressing considerations, because you want to limit the amount of face-to-face interactions that your staff is having with your members, at least for a while. So again, the big thing here, I would say, is really take into consideration where you absolutely must have staff, where you might be able to automate something. But wherever you do have staff, make sure that you're tracking that back and you're able to trace that backwards. With this, we have another poll here we want to throw out to the group. So which option best describes how you schedule staff for work? So again, really easy poll here for us. We'll leave it up for another few seconds, but it looks like Excel is clearly edging out the competition, and we've still got about 13% of folks out there using pen and paper, which is never an easy thing to track when you've got staff calling in sick and calling out and things like that. So interesting to see how a lot of people are doing it. Obviously, like I said, Excel or Google Sheets, something like that, is the obvious clear winner at this point. But good on everyone, just ensuring that you've got some methodology that's consistent across the board with all your departments, so that you can always track back where staff have been and who they may have interacted with. And that really brings us to our next topic here, which is member activity tracking. So again, along the same lines of thought, understanding where your members have been at the club, who they may have been in contact with when they're interacting, is becoming more and more important. So where to utilize this technology? This is really meant for, if you have a front desk at your club, being able to greet a member there to make sure that they get checked in. But it's also great for self-check-in in different areas of the club where you're not enforcing any type of reservations or booking rules. So common areas of the club, maybe maybe a pool or the fitness center, where they don't have to necessarily make a reservation, but you want to know who was on site when they were utilizing facilities. The optimal implementation of something like this is to do it in a really touch-free manner. So there's lots of different devices that can work with a member tracking system. And that can be a handprint scan, like a biometric, a fingerprint scan. It could be a punch code, just a numerical sequence of numbers that's individual to member number, or optimally touch-free, have them scanning a digital member card on a mobile app. Because that way they don't have to come into direct contact with anything other than their own cell phone, and they don't have to press or touch their cell phone to anything. So, that's really kind of an ideal implementation in that realm. Limiting access points to enforce check-ins. This is also really important, and I mean, you might want to be doing this with your golf facilities and your tennis facilities if you're going to have your locker rooms open. I was talking with a friend of mine who he said his club has probably no less than 5 different ways to get in and out of the men's locker room. So you might want to make sure that you're kind of corralling people through a single access point, not only so that you and your staff have less facilities to clean, but you also have less to monitor, and you can enforce check-ins through a single access point then. So it means less infrastructure for your club to have to spin up. So just a couple of additional considerations there. So where we get into the really interesting things are, new tech managed activities. So there are lots of areas of your business that you may be looking to manage with technology or gain new oversight of that you never considered before. One of the things that we've been seeing a lot of requests for is technology to help clubs manage lap pools. We've seen this come up a number of times. This is actually a beautiful photo that Jeremy and I were visiting the Tangling Club in Singapore last fall. And this is their facility. They've got fantastic outdoor pool facilities. But this is exactly the type of thing that understanding when and where members are interacting and are accessing these facilities, and also ensuring physical distancing is really important. So a number of the booking technologies and the different things that we've talked about already today that are in use at your club for all of the kind of traditional booking areas, they also have potential applicability in areas like this. So things like lap pools, poolside decks with lounge chairs. You may want to limit the amount of people that are accessing it. You may want to make sure that everyone who comes has a lounge chair. So giving your members the ability to book ahead of time and reserve a chair. As we mentioned before, as Jeremy brought up in the golf section, your driving range. You may only want one person in every other hitting bay to ensure that you've got proper physical distancing there. Golf simulators, same idea. And then anywhere that you have rentals on sites, things to me that come to mind are paddle boards, bikes, kayaks, anything like this where it could be a shared surface. You want to make sure that you're tracking who has been using these items, but also that you're building in enough time. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's about creating time in the day, that you're building in enough time for proper sanitation of these shared surfaces. So with that in mind, I wanted to talk a little bit about how to simplify and how to think about your different booking applications, because it can be a little bit confusing. There's a lot of different booking applications that we offer, as well as you can get from third-party companies. But it's really important to understand the way that the relationships of these booking applications work. So something like class booking, that's a one-to-many relationship where you have a single provider dealing with a number of individuals that would be attending a class. Appointments and lessons is one-to-one. Event bookings would be one to a facility. Court and dining would be one to a facility plus resources being a ball machine or a table, things like that. The reason that it's important to understand these types of relationships when it comes to booking applications is to really understand where they may be most applicable for outside of their traditional service areas. So for example, if I wanted to reserve pool lanes at my club, I might immediately think of an appointment booking application where an individual lane is bookable by appointment only, and only every other lane is bookable. And that is really important because that's a one-to-one reservation type. Whereas if you try to use a one-to-many reservation application or a one-to facility and resource, it might not yield the same result, and it might not be as nice of a fit. Same things, we've actually seen different clubs different shooting clubs that use our software, booking out duck blinds with clays using applications like court booking, because you're essentially booking a facility and then the resource being the actual clays that you're shooting. So the better that you understand the kind of the relationship breakdown in these different booking technologies and how that that impacts the way that people make reservations, the better suited you are to really be able to look at new and interesting ways that you might be able to implement these technologies at your club to ensure physical distancing and safety, security, and sanitation. So member communication, me being in marketing, this is really kind of getting into my sweet spot. I think the bottom line right now is we cannot possibly over communicate to members. There are going to be new policies and procedures in place. And in addition to them being in place, members need to understand why they're in place, why it's important to them as a member, and why it's important to staff. Because members are going to have to make accommodations during this time of reopening as well. So really ensure that your members understand the policy changes. Utilize your club's website. Utilize any communication methodologies that you've got. Email. Make sure it is mobile optimized so that it actually looks proper on the mobile phone. Start thinking in a mobile first philosophy. You know, members carry their phones with them everywhere they go, and that's where you want to get them. So optimize those emails for mobile display. Text messaging and push notifications, great ways to communicate directly with members in their pockets. Mobile app updates. Again, you know, pushing out notifications. Hey, we posted a new blog article on our club website on the members only section. Click here to read it. It's about our new rules, about our new policies. And don't be afraid to give your members that opportunity to re-engage back with you. So prepare staff. Make sure that your staff is over communicated with as well, so that your members are going to get the same message in person from a staff member as they are from your actual club communications. So group poll time. Does your club have member-facing web technology? And if so, which of the below best describes the options that you have available?
Just one thing I'll add about this one, folks. You can pick more than one. So if more than one of these apply to you, feel free to pick them.
All right, so we've got about 2/3 of the audience that has voted here. So website, you know, it's 98%. Email marketing, 95%. So right at the top end. Over half of the people on the line actually have a mobile app that they have in place at their club, which is really great to hear, because I think having a club mobile app, not only is it great because it keeps your booking applications, it keeps your club website content, all that in your members' pocket, accessible anytime, anywhere. It also gives you the ability to send those push notifications, which is just one more communication touch point. And we've got about 20% of the audience out there using SMS and texting in some capacity as well. So it's really good. And most importantly, there's not a single club on the line today that has no web technology. So that's really, really good to hear. So I think I wanted to wrap up today's presentation with just a few general guidelines before we get into our Q&A. And these guidelines really, you know, at a high level, they're fairly simplistic, but I think they kind of encompass a lot of the philosophies that we've talked about on the line today. Operate in a reservation-only manner. You know, there's a lot of clubs out there that have never had to do this before, have never been interested in doing it. Unfortunately, current circumstances might mean that you have to operate in a reservation-only manner, at least for a period of time. And it is the safest way to ensure, you know, social and physical distancing of your members and your staff. Create more time in the day. Space out reservations. Shorten the operational day if you have to. You know, we've all seen grocery stores, you know, all over North America, shortening their daily hours so that they can invest time in deep cleaning at their facilities. The same types of expectations may need to be put in place at clubs. Try to have that mobile first philosophy. Communicate with members directly in their pocket, directly into the palm of their own hands. Track everything. As I said, when it comes especially to staffing and member activity tracking, really understanding where people have been and what they've been doing is very important. Over communicating is also extremely important. There's no such thing as an over communication at this point. And be creative. Technology can be repurposed in a lot of different ways for a lot of different areas at your club. And from our perspective, from Jonas, we're here to try and help you with that. So if you have facilities that you want to put technology in, but you're unsure if anything's available, or you don't think that there's anything that's viable, reach out to us. We want to help you and try and find solutions to the problems that you're faced with here every day in this kind of new reality. So by all means, reach out to us first, and we're going to do our best to help you, whatever the demand may be. So with that, again, I wanted to thank everybody who joined us for the session today. It's great to see over 100 people on the call, and we've got some questions that have been thrown in the question box now. Jeremy, did you have one that you wanted to address first, and I can kind of start looking through for others?
Yeah, so I answered a couple of the just kind of administrative ones in regards to making this presentation available. Yes, we will make this presentation available to you folks on our YouTube channel. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, there is a handout with a whole bunch of links in it for you in the handouts box that you should all have access to, called resources and links. And in there, you'll get a link to our YouTube channel where we're going to post this recording. We've got lots of other fantastic resources and how-to guides as well. But maybe a more kind of product-related question. I had a question from Hawaii. For the room layout in Jam, is that built in or an integration with a third-party software? So that is built in. You can build your own layout, unlimited number of layouts for an individual room or for multiple rooms. And you build that right within the software solution. So if you have a different one that you want to set up, given the current circumstances, you can go ahead and override your typical one and set something up that's more conducive to what you're having to offer right now.
Excellent. Jeremy, another question here that I think we should address is, do we have any tips for retail? And obviously, this is one that's of increasing importance. Retail pro shops are really looking to be able to do some business, and they maybe haven't been able to. The first thing that comes to mind is with online ordering. So our online ordering can, in fact, be used in a retail capacity. There's a pretty simple setup to allow you to put your retail merchandise online from an online ordering perspective. And we did publish a video on that as well. Is that included in the handout, Jeremy? Do you remember?
It is, yeah. So if you folks on the line, you open up that resources and links document, there's one in there specifically for online ordering, and we have a whole web page set up for all of the different considerations for online ordering. And to Trevor's point, there's one on there specifically for how to use it for a retail operation.
That's great. Just going through some of the other questions here. Had somebody ask us if we can show them the results of the poll. I'm not sure how we can show the results of the poll unless you do, Jeremy.
I shared the results of the poll that I think that the participant was asking for. I don't know if we can or if we can't, but if we can, we'll be sure to send that out after today's webinar. No issues there.
Excellent. Really good question here from using Jonas from a mobile perspective. The question was, is there anything available today in terms of just a remote desktop as opposed to maybe, full browser-based or something like that? At a very high level, no, there's no browser-based today. However, we've got a couple of things. We have a thin client deployment that may make it very accessible for you and your staff to be able to work remotely. And we've also, we are just getting ready to release for version 1, basically, of what we're calling our staff app, which is a true app-based technology. It brings your existing point of sale directly to an app on any mobile device. So your staff can actually fully use the point of sale without any type of remote desktop or thin client connection to an actual point of sale station directly on a mobile device, whether that's a tablet or an actual cell phone. It's actually in the final phases of beta right now, and just pending release soon as well. Jeremy, is there anything there that I didn't cover that you'd like to touch on?
Nope, that was great.
Look at that, I got one. A little more. Can you talk to us a little bit more on how we would use appointment/lesson module for lap pool swimming?
Yeah, I can take that one if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm actually going to bring up Jonas here. So one of the greatest features of our appointment booking module is you can have what we call different activities. So if you can see in my system here, I've got fitness personal training, golf pro lessons, and tennis lessons. So I could in fact set up a fourth activity called, lap swimming or whatever it might be. And, you're thinking outside the box a little bit here, but it isn't a huge departure. Instead of booking providers, so instead of booking John the golf pro, I'm booking lane 1, lane 2, or lane 3 of the lap pool. So the great part of using this module is that by those different activity types, you can have different confirmations go out that are labeled appropriately, because the last thing you probably want is a member to get a confirmation saying your appointment or your lesson with lap lane number 1 has been confirmed for tomorrow at 9 o'clock. You can actually modify that verbiage to be a little bit more specific to what the members are doing and interacting with. And you can set up an unlimited number of these activity types as well. So just kind of shifting your mind a little bit. So providers are typically people, but providers can also be things like lanes.
Great. We had another really good question here. How can we set it up so that members receive an email chit after transactions?
Yeah, so that's another really, really good question. Going paperless has obviously become quite in vogue, and it's something you've been able to do in Jonas for a really, really long time now. There is a video on how to do this. There's also documentation on the Jonas support website. And if you reach out to our support team, they can point you to this information as well. But on a really, really high level, in your point of sale system, under system setup, you do have the option here to set up email functions. And we actually have more than one. So the one you're referring to specifically is the email chit. So I just want to email the chit out to members. We've got some other ones as well that are probably lesser known as well. So if I give a discount or a comp on the chit, I can have a manager or head of department get a notification that I've given out a discount. We've got ones at the start of the chit as well. So this is a great one for, again, management. Maybe your general manager wants to connect with a member. So what better way to do that than set up an email notification to go out to them the next time that member comes out to the club? And the best way to do that is when they're transacting something. So there's a whole bunch in here, but there's a bit of setup required to this. So like I said, go onto our YouTube website, search for the video, contact our support team, but we've definitely got that functionality built right into the product for you.
Excellent answer. Another really good question here. Let me just pull something up to make sure I'm giving you the right information. Was in terms of getting on the advanced release or being a part of the beta program for any of our applications that are in beta right now. Really simple answer to this one. Reach out to us at the company, fill out a web form on our website if you'd like. Let us know that you're interested in being a beta client for any of the applications I mentioned earlier today, whether it's the mobile point of sale or shift manager, anything like that. Or our new online class scheduling. You can also email beta, that's BETA, at jonasclub.com. So BETA at jonasclub.com.
I'm just typing that email address into the chat box for everyone as well.
Excellent. Just going through the last couple here. Do we have any documentation on the Jonas app and the requirements? The best thing there is to, again, contact us via the website, or we can try and take down your information here, David. And we'll just have your local representative contact you. Basically, it's just it's actually an extension of the Clubhouse Online website platform. So it's a pretty straightforward implementation. We have 2 flavors of mobile app available. There's a completely customized one where a member would go to the App Store and download your club named mobile app. There's also a free version that we make available. It's very, very functional, offers all of your booking applications that you have on your website as well. And that's just downloadable as the Clubhouse Online mobile app. We just have to basically spin you up on that and get you running. But yeah, two flavors to the mobile app that are available. And both of them, again, just extensions of your Clubhouse Online website. Someone else asking how they implement appointment booking if they don't have it on their Jonas Encore. So appointment booking itself is an individual application that we offer. So again, contacting your local representative to see if we can get you up and running on that is a pretty quick call to make. Let me just see here. Oh, David. Okay, I see. David added another comment on it. He was referring to the mobile point of sale app. So again, that one's still in our beta program. So if you're interested in being a beta club for us, by all means, contact us at that email address, and we can go ahead and get in touch and see what we can do about getting you up and running as a beta club for us. There was one other question here I saw that I don't think we answered yet. Any plans to access Clubhouse Online back office on a mobile device or an iPad? So basically what the question is asking is that while all Clubhouse Online websites themselves are completely mobile accessible and fully responsive, so they display properly on any mobile device, the back office editing of it is not. It's been optimized to a certain extent, but there are still a couple of things that we are looking to improve with the platform. So shorter answer is, as of right this minute, no, but it is on our enhancement list to get to. You know, it's one of those things where, from a Clubhouse Online perspective, we're very much occupied right now with focusing on the member-facing interactions of things and really helping you guys deliver service to your members. So there's probably some other things that are a little bit ahead of that one, but we totally understand the need to get there, and it is a part of our development plan. So we have one more here that came in from Tim. Implementation guide for per server at table ordering. Jeremy, any resources on that you can think of?
Yes, not off the top of my head. It's documented on our YouTube site. I don't know that I can pull up a link right now. But Tim, if you reach out to us, really just, our support team, support@jonasclub.com, they should be able to point you in the right direction or put you in touch with someone that can.
Okay, and that's it. I think we've made it through all the questions in the question panel. Good. Actually, we got a couple more that just came in. Jeremy, I'm good to stay on the line for a couple more minutes if you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does Jonas have a texting SMS ability? So short answer is not right this minute, although we are really close to launching a beta texting platform. So that's something that we're actively working on, and you'll be seeing in the very near term.
So there's a question here from Sue, just mentioning that staff could not use the mobile app. So Sue, our current mobile application is a member-facing mobile application. Trevor alluded to this a couple of times in our Q&A session that we are currently in development and getting close to a beta program stage for our staff app. So we are developing a separate application for your staff to be able to do things like transact, or do a point of sale transaction right through that application. So that is coming in the near term.
Sorry, folks, just trying to look through a few of these questions as quickly as we can.
Yep. So there was a question as well about, is there capability to do email marketing through Jonas? Yes, there absolutely is. we've got a couple of different options for you. So that's another great one. Reach out to us or to your representative for more information on that, and we can provide you with some insights.
Charlene, I just saw your message come through there. Yes, absolutely. We'll put you guys on the beta list for that. And Rado, I apologize. I'm not quite following your question in regards to enhancing security through online ordering. If you've got any specific details on that you're wondering about, you may want to reach out to us directly, and we can help you get a good answer to that question, probably with a little bit more context. Okay, folks, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap today's session. So again, really appreciate everyone sticking on the line with us through the Q&A. Lots of great questions, and it's definitely been our pleasure to be here and host this session today. So thank you all on behalf of myself and Jeremy and everybody at Jonas Club Software. We wish you all the best as you work to reopen your clubs, and you know, like I think we've said a couple of times, we're all in this together, and hopefully everybody's going to come out good on the other side of it. So wish you all the best. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we will see you all again soon.